So 8:02, we'll get started. Welcome, everybody. Thanks again for your time and sharing your valuable time with us for a club council meeting. I know there's been a few changes maybe at clubs of who the representatives were. Is anybody, this is their first meeting? You can raise your hand or throw something in the chat or just shout out. We don't exactly follow Robert's rules of order in this meeting. There we go. Kara, Mike. So if it is your first meeting, we do try to keep these, I do try to keep these as informal as possible. I do find that I tend to talk more than I would like in these, so feel free to jump in at any time with questions. I'll run through the agenda. Again, stop at any time, put your hand up. Kara, I think you have your hand up just because it's your first time here, or do you have a question? If you have a question, go right ahead, but all right, thanks. So if we look going through the agenda, not necessarily in any order of priority, but you may have questions at your club about what we're going to do about junior mixed doubles nationals next year. This year it was an open entry event. Next year we're looking at a 12-team junior mixed doubles nationals with 2 to 3 qualifying events. We still need for next year, really the 2 sites we need are mixed doubles nationals and junior mixed doubles nationals. And mixed doubles nationals in a very busy calendar next year, we're looking at putting in January. Junior mixed doubles nationals we would like to have in March. So if your club is interested in either of those events, be happy to hear from them or you. Junior mixed doubles nationals will be a Thursday through Sunday event. It can actually run in a 3-sheet club. We have 12 teams for it. Mixed doubles nationals can run in a 4-sheet club, but we'd love to have it in a 5 or 6-sheet club, just so we can sell some on ice tickets, which we'd like to do. So those are 2 things, and then we have conversations going with a number of people about the junior mixed doubles nationals qualifiers. Like I said, probably looking at 2 to 3 events and qualifying a certain number of teams from each. Phil, you got a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, you're talking about next season, right?
Yeah, this upcoming season. So we have, junior mixed doubles nationals was always kind of a tricky one. Last year, it was announced late, the world mixed doubles, junior mixed doubles. So we used the CK Cup as the event, the nationals event. That will likely be a qualifier next year, and then we'd like to have a 12-team nationals. And then mixed doubles nationals has just been a hard one to find because the calendar's so jammed and there's not a lot of flexibility about where it can land. And it does have to land somewhere in early to mid-January. So the rest of the season we're pretty good on. And even if we look towards 26, 27, we have probably more than half the host sites for that season. So we are getting ahead of it, but these 2 would be events we would love to have. I think junior mixed doubles nationals would be a good event for a club. I think the junior nationals is always a pretty good revenue maker for clubs. I think junior mixed doubles nationals would be the same. And I think mixed doubles nationals would do well. So be this year, of course, at trials, we went to a 10-team field. It'll be a 16-team field in a non-Olympic year for mixed doubles nationals, 2 pools of 8. That's why it can run on 4 sheets. So, yeah. So if anybody's interested in those upcoming year, I know most clubs are already busy into their calendar, so trying to lock those in in the next week or so, to be honest. For people who didn't see it, we had an announcement out today about the members meeting and the members assembly that's going to be in Las Vegas next year. So excited about that. It will run at the same time as the Curl Vegas Bonspiel. So they have a Bonspiel there. We have a good room rate. The CVB has been supportive, so happy to be going for that, and excited to have it with the Bonspiel going on at the same time. We'll still have courses, certifications. We're going to work with Brad and his team in Curl Vegas around that. Even on officiating, if there are officiating courses, it might be great because I've spoken to Brad about having officials actually work some games in the Bonspiel as part of their training. So, more information on the schedule on that, but we do know the dates. The 19th will be the members meeting. Pretty much the same structure as last year. So Friday evening, 5 o'clock Pacific, we'll do the members meeting. And just so everybody knows, you can add clubs, member clubs and members will be able to attend that virtually, just like in the past number of years. And then the assembly activities will carry on Saturday through Sunday morning. I think Lauren Rich is on. Lauren's doing a ton of work with I don't know, with or against Sport 80, but somehow she's making Sport 80 function a little better for all of us. One of the things she has we have a test site now for changes to how membership upgrades happen next year. And we are also changing, we're going to move the membership year. It will be the calendar year going forward. So January 1 to December 31 will be your membership. Member clubs that provide us rosters, et cetera, and collect dues as we so appreciate. That way they can get us that by November 30th, and we won't have a period of time when some members who get their membership that way, some USA Curling members, have elapsed membership just because we haven't processed it yet. So Lauren was my brilliant idea. I'll say the November 30th date, December 1, which meant that we would have had to we were trying to turn over every roster basically, overnight, although many clubs put them in before November 30th. So Lauren, I don't know if you want to add any more on that if you're on, or if I covered most of it.
Yeah, that was pretty much all of it. Just to clarify a little bit about the membership upgrades, we're basically separating the upgrade from the membership itself. So everyone will have a basic or youth membership, and then the membership upgrades will be basically just like a second profile menu on your Sport 80 profile. So it'll have memberships, and then membership upgrades will be like two different things, and then you can buy your upgrades on the upgrade menu.
Yeah, so
that way,
go ahead.
That way you can kind of manage them a little more independently than you could last time. I don't know how many people on this call were personally impacted, but we had a lot of trouble with people who needed to renew at a different level or needed to wait for their club to renew to upgrade when they were trying to register for events kind of around that shoulder November 30th date, like last summer through November 30th. It was a problem. So hopefully we'll avoid that this year.
Yeah. So thanks, Lauren, on that, and any other feedback people have on that process, feel free to share it now or later. As I've said before on these calls, we really do value clubs that are collecting the basic membership and submitting dues. Obviously, we know that results in more members, so we appreciate it when our member clubs do that. And you also get the per member rebate immediately versus waiting till the next year for it. So there's value to clubs to do that as well. Olympic qualification process. I don't know how many people on this call, I'm going to guess all of you have followed that. Obviously, we did not, do what we hope to do at World Men's and World Women's. We did get the spot in mixed doubles, so that was great. I will say I have an email going out. I will say that nobody was more disappointed in the World Men's and World Women's than the teams themselves, who really do commit a lot of time and dedicate themselves to it. It's not easy right now. Now, that said, I'm confident we'll get the spots next December at the Olympic qualifying event. And we're doing everything we can right now to make sure the next 6 to 7 months are as productive as they can be for teams that are, will be in the trials. So the other part of that is that the Olympic team trials in Sioux Falls, the winners of that on the men's and women's side will then turn around and go to the Olympic qualifying event about a month later. We're happy it's in Kelowna, British Columbia for travel reasons and everything else. That makes it a little better. And we have a pretty specific calendar schedule for the team that wins the trials and what it looks like for them as they prepare for the Olympic qualifying event. For people who don't know that, we've been in the Olympic qualifying event before. John Schuster and his team went through it in 2013 to get into the 14 games. Chris Plies and Vicky Persinger went through it to get into mixed doubles last Olympic Games. And I guess the other thing I'd add is that the women's teams in the gold medal game in 2022 both came through the Olympic qualifying event. So it can be a good prep for the games. Certainly, it's certainly a nerve-wracking event, that's for sure. But I'm confident in our teams and the prep they're doing and we're doing with them. So the other thing on Olympic team trials is that tickets are on sale. You can find a link to that on our website to the tickets. There's single session and full event tickets for sale. And we haven't really kicked off our marketing of that event, at least in that market in Sioux Falls and the surrounding area. And our ticket sales are really quite good so far. So without a big push on our part. So that makes me feel pretty good about Sioux Falls, which I already did. I think they turn out for stuff, so I think it'll be good. Pan Continentals, we're going to be hosting that in, I can't remember, I might have already talked about that on this call, but that's locked in now. So our busy schedule next year sort of goes pre-trials in Charlotte, the members assembly and meeting. We've got Arena Nationals in Vegas as well. We've got the Pan Continental Curling Championships. The trials are after that. There's a Grand Slam out in Lake Tahoe between that. That if we can provide practice ice for our players, which we're working on, some of our teams are hoping to possibly play in that. That'll be a decision for each team to make. And then we go to the Olympic qualifying event. Then it's all our championships plus the Olympics plus the World Men's is in Salt Lake City next year. So exciting and daunting at the same time. So look for more on that. I think we have a pretty good team at Curl Masabi to pull that event off. So a lot of our focus will be on that and the team trials. 5U Nationals Qualifiers, we were hoping to announce those by now. It's really just about a bit of back and forth on sites for some of the qualifier bonspiels that have applied. We're close to announcing that. If your 5U curlers ask you about it, we want to announce it. We do have, we think, a host site for nationals. We're pretty confident about that. So we'll have that out as soon as possible. We just don't want to put it out with a few things still not buttoned up with some of these events. And then I'll go right into open forum new business. But if anybody, last time I think we spoke, I talked a little bit about adding college curling and as a way to utilize, especially maybe some downtime in your club and grow that category for us. We haven't had a lot of new colleges start. So if you are interested in that, I think it's a great way to utilize ice time during the day when maybe it's not being used that much. So when it's slightly underutilized. So I know, I always say to curling clubs, I say, if, every time your ice is out there and there's nobody on it, it's a bit like a plane taking off with empty seats. We don't get it back. So if college curling is a way to help with that, that would be, I think there are schools with interest in it, and there'll obviously probably be more schools with interest in it when the Olympics get underway, and if you're in a position to fit that into your schedule, I encourage it. And with that, I'll stop talking at 8:17 and throw it open. Anyone for thoughts, new business, anything that is on your mind at the moment? Go ahead, Ann.
Hey, Dean. Thanks for touching on the 5U qualifiers. Do you know time frame at all for that? Fargo is looking to host a 5U cash spiel, and just trying to solidify our calendar. But if we get that qualifier spot, it would change our dates if we do or don't.
Yeah, hoping to have it by the end of the week. But it's Wednesday, so let me be optimistic or more realistic and say in a week. And actually, Ben Shapiro from your club is somebody I wanted to reach out to because I know he's, I think, running that spiel. So I want to connect with him. And then there's also a question about the host club for the Dakota Territory 5U. But so those are just two examples of things we're just trying to sort out. But I know people want to get this done, so I will commit to having it out in a week at the latest.
Okay, sounds good. I know we've reached out to our Dakota Territory club about that, and then
Okay.
Ben is out of the country, so he just wanted me to follow up
Okay.
with that. So
When is he back?
he's in Scotland. He'll be back in about half a week or so.
Okay. I'll send him an email then.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thanks, Ann. We did have, just so people know, I think there are 30 applications for qualifier bond spiels, which is a good problem to have, but not the best either to manage. But it's definitely a good problem to have. I think I said at 5U Nationals that the first year we used this format, we were begging people to be qualifier bond spiels. So now it's become pretty popular, and 560 entries or something in the last year in qualifier bond spiels. I should shout out Matt Pesos and Ben Hoppy who helped us manage all that. Yeah, Lawrence mentioned this is actually going my end of year email here too, that we're really trying to provide more materials to help clubs capitalize on the games, and happy to hear any suggestions of what you might be looking for, what might be especially helpful. I know we've had, I could rattle off some of the things, whether they're, I think there was a time when everybody wanted templates for social media ads. I think that now most people in their clubs have somebody who does that. I think there's certainly some who would like to have printed materials to give out. Ashley, you have your hand up.
I think Matt actually has his hand up first, so I don't want to skip the line.
All right. Sorry, I spent so much time with Matt in Bowling Green, I was trying to ignore him, but go ahead, Matt.
I don't blame you one bit. I had a question about the wheelchair trial qualification. I know that it looks like we made it to the Olympics and
Yep.
both of the wheelchair teams. And how is the 4-person team gonna be picked, or when is that gonna be decided?
So we did change the process a bit for that. We went through the channels for that, but the plan now is we will have a pre-trials event that will qualify 2 teams to play wheelchair mixed doubles trials during the team trials. So we're actually the first NGB to do a para event and an able-bodied event, a trials event at the same time. So we'll choose our mixed doubles team. Will come out of that. So there'll be 2 teams will go there. They're going to play a best 2 of 3 in the arena. Winner of that becomes our mixed doubles team, and we will select the 5-person team after that. So we are in both disciplines in para. The difference with para is that they run concurrently, so we can't have people playing in both.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, I know that I got to talk to and meet Laura Dwyer
Yep.
last year. She came and did an athlete outreach event, and she talked about kind of how they picked the team. And I guess sort of as a follow-up to that, has there been any progress towards expanding or expanding the field of athletes so that the team can basically assemble themselves, and then you have a bunch of teams that can play to be the team, the national team?
Yeah, I think that's the long-term objective, right? Is to get more people playing. So, teams can, whether we're forming them and having them compete, but you're right, having competition instead of a selection process, which we can do in mixed doubles because we have more teams competing. But we're not there yet. We do a fair amount of outreach. And we've added a few athletes, excuse me, just in the last year. So there's a couple challenges for us with para. One is there's classification, which can be difficult. They have to be meet the requirements, the disability, I guess, of to be able to compete. So, and I think as odd as it sounds, I mean, in wheelchair curling, it can be as come down to where you've lost your leg, for instance, right? Whether it's above the knee or below the knee, things like that. So they have to get classified. We're actually pushing to maybe try to have broader classification. So that's one hurdle. The other is just, we do find a number of athletes from other sports who aren't in an area with a curling club. But two things we're doing there. We do outreach with veterans groups. We're also talking to, and I know Katie Baker's doing this, talking to other clubs or other sports, other para sports where athletes might have their career end a little earlier than in ours. So we're hoping that maybe we can get some more crossover athletes as well.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. It's a good question. It's a good question, and I know there's a lot of clubs that do a lot of great work with wheelchair curling, and we definitely appreciate it. It's just not, it's not, it's progress. I think we're making progress, but it's not as quick as anyone would like, and I think that's true across all para sports. Ashley, you took your hand down, but I'm going to guess you still have your question.
Yes, thank you. I was wondering if we could get updated stats on the number of clubs, the number of curlers in the country, especially
Sure.
with the membership we've been submitting and everything, because I don't think I've seen updated stats since the pre-pandemic.
So you're looking for number of USA curling members or a number of clubs, both dedicated ice and arena?
I was looking for overall number of clubs, but a breakdown is fine too. But yeah, the number of curlers, just because I think many people are like, oh, I didn't know there were so many curling clubs in the US, or there were so many curlers.
Yeah, I think that'll be good information for us to push out. So just so you know, we're at about 20,000 members, USA Curling. I'm going to guess there's another 5,000 who curl who aren't members of USA Curling. One of the things we're doing and Lauren's on, we've been talking about this forever, but I think we finally have the right platform for it. And I think we're going to be able to launch it on July 1, but is a one-day curler membership that we're hoping clubs will opt into. Not going to cost clubs any money, but it'll be a way to capture all the people who step on curling ice once a year, whether for a corporate event, a private event, a learn to curl. I think those would be good numbers for us to have and good data for us to have. But yeah, we'll put that out. It probably is somewhere on our site, but we can update it or provide an update on numbers.
Thank you.
Sure. Todd?
Yeah, hi, thanks. On a follow-up on that one-day membership here in Montana, we've been curious, is that still $5 per day with the people that would sign up for Learn to Curl. And then I think there was talk a few months ago about maybe having people opt out to not get emails from USA Curling.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious about where that's at.
Yeah, no, that's the idea. It would be $5. That would give the participant some participant accident insurance. And we'll have to have it built in that there's a opt out so that if they don't want to get, an email from me, they can avoid it. So, but we think we have a good platform for it. Honestly, Sport 80 just wasn't, we were hoping to keep it in Sport 80. But that wasn't working out. So we think we have a good platform where someone, and the way it would work, just the way we envision it, is if you're a club and you do a Learn to Curl or a private event, you tell participants, hey, to do this, you need to get a $5 one-day curler membership. That gives them the insurance. If they do have an accident, there's a little layer of protection for the club. We get as much data as we can from that, as they'll let us have. Then we would market back to those people, and say, hey, did you love curling? It doesn't really matter that we don't know where they were in that, but they're going to go back to where they tried it. And then, so it's basically insurance. I think we would end up capturing about $2 from it, in the end, but after you get, payment processing and things like that. But yeah, it'll be opt-in for clubs. We're not forcing clubs to do it.
True. I guess we were concerned as a club about having USA Curling send emails to the people that sign up for that, and whether there'd be an opt-out for that part of it and then is that link already available for people to sign up for the one-day membership, or is that still in the works?
No, it's been a challenge, and Lauren and I could talk about it, but we hope to have it on July 1. We will give people an opt-out, but just like any other business, if we can communicate with people, maybe maybe we're more likely to convert them to members at your club, or we're more likely to get them to buy a ticket to the team trials or whatever else. So we'll do it the proper way. We'll do it with integrity, but we won't. But if we can capture some data, it would be a big help. Also, just to show how many people step on curling ice when we talk to sponsors would be really valuable. I mean, right now, I estimate it, but I'd love to say this is an actual number.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Thank you,
Look
Todd.
forward
Mike?
to having that option.
Yeah, it's great. I'm glad you're interested in it. Mike?
Would there be an opportunity for the clubs to collect that and submit it on the user's behalf, similar to membership? I know for a lot of our Learn to Curls, we get last minute signups, right? And that's a big part of our business. And it sounds a little risky or scary to me to say, as a last minute sign up, we want those seats filled. But you also have to go out to the site and get this membership ahead of time. Could detract from some of our business. So if there's opportunities that we could submit on users' behalf, that'd be pretty swell.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to make this as frictionless as possible for someone to do. Like, someone should be able to just do it from their phone. So, and again, we don't want to get into the business of clubs and events. We're really just trying to capture some more numbers, help some more data, help with insurance on the insurance side. I mean, we've all had, the concern at Learn to Curl, somebody gets hurt, and if they have a little bit of extra coverage, maybe they're less, clubs have the general liability insurance through us too, but it'd be nice not to have to use that. And then to be able to market to those people would be great. Now, I'm not exactly sure. Again, if somebody showed up late and wanted to get on the ice, I certainly wouldn't expect anyone to say, oh, you got to get this one-day curler membership first. So if there's a way we can make that work, sure. But we're trying to just make it a thing like, hey, get the one-day curler. For instance, say I book a corporate event, club tells me, hey, you're booked to go. It's $10,000, and but you need the participants to get a one-day curler membership. Have them do that. Again, are you going to check everybody at the door? No, you will have a thing that will have. Yeah, there is a QR code, Liz. There will be a QR code, And then they'll be able to show something on their phone that says they have it. Casey's asking the current coverage change. And do you mean current personal accident coverage?
Yeah, like would
Yeah.
it then not be offered to the clubs that opt to choose not to do that?
No,
Even
it's
if
just
they're a
that
USA member
right
club?
now, the personal accident coverage only covers USA Curling members, right? Now, your club is covered by general liability for curling events. But when people participate in a Learn to Curl, they're not covered with our personal accident insurance. And this would be a stripped down version, a lesser version of what our members get. So you are covered as a club for general liability. So if somebody sues you, et cetera. But the participants at a Learn to Curl right now, unless they're a USA Curling member, don't have personal accident coverage. And this pack, what they'll get won't be as good as what our members get, but it will be something, and would I think it's up to $10,000, or there's enough in there that if someone needed it, they would find it valuable. But I think there was confusion pre my term about the personal accident insurance, where people thought that everybody who went on the ice had personal accident insurance, when really it's the club has general liability insurance protecting you from somebody suing you for an accident that occurs while curling, and then all members have personal accident coverage. That's part of your membership. But if you just show up and curl, you're not a member. There's really no way for an insurance firm to come up with some actuarial science to when they don't know how many people or what. So this will, with this, what we will do is it will be set up. We would pay the insurer every month based on the number of one-day curler memberships.
Gotcha. Thank you for clarifying.
No, that's fine. It's I think we've tried to clarify that in the last few years, but I understand it was put out there a number of years ago and it wasn't accurate. Mike, how are you doing?
Doing fine, thanks, Dean. Just clarify for me this one-day membership thing. So like if we have a Learn to Curl event and people come in, okay, they pay the $5. That's simple enough. But if there's a corporate event, usually the company is writing a check to the curling club. So on top of that, you want every individual then to pay a small fee to USA Curling? That seems kind of clunky.
Yeah, I understand. I'm not sure a better way around it, to be honest, other than to have the club collects the fee that they get, and then they ask the corporate group, ask the corporate group to get memberships, or it should be easy enough that you could do it right at the club. And we'll certainly talk to the provider if there's another way for just the club to add it.
If there's a way for like one person at the corporation that's renting, doing, sponsoring the Learn to Curl, just to pay one fee for everyone, so they sign up and say, yeah, here's my code, blah, 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 that my employer gave me.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Oh, if they could get a code. Yeah. Because that might make sense. Because what we don't want to do is just have somebody sign up 16 and all we get back is it says 16 curlers, right? We kind of want to get some information. But what you're suggesting, a code might be great.
Yeah, I think that would go over better, but just my thoughts.
That's a good thought. Jeremy.
I was just wondering if you want. I think it's very unlikely that like our club is going to do a lot of this one day membership stuff, especially on the corporate event side. Like we're an arena club, so all the events are scheduled through the year.
Right.
We do have data on how many people are coming through the doors and going on the ice, but the logistics of like going through the arena to get the groups to sign up for another thing is going to be challenging. Would there be some other way to, like, if the goal here is just to collect the data, so that you can, use this for talking sponsors and whatever else. But will there be a way to provide that to you?
Provide the numbers, you mean, like the number of
Yeah.
participants?
Yeah, like I
mean,
can tell you right now that 2024 we had 1,260 people participate in corporate events. I could get the same level of detail for Learn to Curl.
yeah, I mean, that's sort of a parallel thing, but yeah, anything we can do to get that information would be great. Just the pure numbers. When you give me that number, it makes me feel pretty good about my estimate that I say to sponsors. So, I think, and I think during an Olympic year, it only goes up. Now, yeah, I mean, honestly, I mean, what we would love is to, have more, relationships with people who try curling, who maybe try curling and only want to do it once, but want to hear more about it or buy a shirt or whatever. I mean, I think it was Vanessa from Nashville last time suggested we, you get the $5 membership and you get $10 off in our store. So we can look at things like that. Just to be clear, we're not expecting this out of the gate, everybody to be like, fantastic, this is awesome, we're doing it every event. We realize there's going to be some work, and for some clubs like yours, maybe it doesn't work at all. Or like to Mike's point, if we can provide a code, maybe that helps there too, when people like, okay, it's paid for, I just have to give them my name. So agreed, it's not going to work for everybody. But on this parallel path, we should have something in place to get that data from a club like yours, at least pure numbers.
Cool, thanks.
You also have their hand up. Those are all good questions and points. I mean, nothing about this has been super straightforward. We did know that having people click on 6 different things and create a profile was definitely not going to work. So we're not doing that. Now, Robert, when you say collect data in tandem with the Parks and Rec, is that you get names and information, names and emails, for instance, or are you just getting pure numbers?
No, we have names, we have addresses, email, phone,
Okay.
ages, genders, kind of the whole 9 yards.
And do you go through a process? Is there a process where they get a chance to opt out of that stuff, opt out of receiving information from us?
No.
Yeah.
Because Parks and Rec really sets out the information form, and then we get the data from Parks and Rec.
Got it. Okay. Thanks.
You bet.
Jim Mardsley.
Good evening, everyone. I just had a thought. Now, this might be a long-term goal, but if there's a way for, well, thing is, we use a company called Curling Club Manager. I'm sure there's people on the call that use Curling Club Manager for their website. If USA Curling member clubs had access to a back end to set up the website, then ultimately any data that is input into a club website that's then managed by that club, USA Curling could gather that information at the same time. And it's as easy as a click, a box that you check, that sort of stuff. I feel like all this stuff could just be organized with technology. Maybe that guy from Silicon Valley can help us out. But it's an idea to to get between it rather than add to it, and minimize the barrier.
Yeah, agreed. Minimizing the barriers would be awesome. And some of that Warm Room Hero is software, club management software that has sponsored our webcast. And I will say it's a little more expensive than Curling Club Manager, but everybody I've talked to says it's much better. And they've talked to us about that kind of thing. You're right; it is a long-term thing. First, for us to do it, we have to be able to hire the right person to put some of these things in place. My other concern, I'll be honest, is always cautious about how much we want to get into club business, because I know, look, I was a president of a curling club, and there's a certain independence to them. Like we we want to work with our member clubs, obviously, and we love but we don't. I think we've gotten in trouble in the past when it sort of seems like we're too much in your knitting, I guess. So have to be a little cautious of that, but yeah, there's if we had something in place like that, it would be good. So don't disagree. But I also don't think we can have that by next Olympics.
Thanks. No worries at all. I'm happy to carry on that conversation.
Yeah, I mean, one thing is, and I'll just add is, even at my home club in New Jersey, I know, and maybe it's changed since I was running corporate events there, but we didn't really collect we didn't really even know who was coming. We had them sign a waiver on paper, which we do a better job of that. That's the other thing, that this membership would include a waiver, so a club could, logically, I guess, not have to have their own waiver signed. So we'd have a waiver in there that they would sign that said, that we all know a lawyer can work through a waiver, but at least get that. And if a club doubled down, fine, you've got 2 waivers. But the big thing is getting some of this data when they share it, and then also taking on some of the marketing responsibility for clubs. I mean, if we send out a message every month that says, hey, you tried curling, because we know they were at a Learn to Curl or a corporate event, why don't you try it again, or why don't you join the club? They're going to go back to the club where they tried it first. We don't have to know what club they were at. So. And I think all the idea of 100%, I would love to have clubs share more data on their numbers, and we can put something in place to do that for sure. But I'm also not, I don't want to make work for clubs either way. And again, the other thing is, if we can actually, when we go to sponsors, I mean, I use a number that's, I usually say it's at least 100,000 people step on curling ice every year somewhere. If we can actually say, look, here's our one-day curler memberships, and they're 250,000, that would be fantastic. Bill.
Yeah, Dean, we've gone to strictly to QR codes for waivers for our events.
Mm-hmm.
And having them electronic like that, we do collect all the data. It's kept together for each event, so we know exactly who was there. We do not necessarily collect email addresses or addresses, anything like that. Strictly name and that they agree to the waiver.
Yeah.
But we are getting numbers and names. I'm sure we could add a request for an email. I don't think we would go for a mandatory, you have to enter your email type thing, but I'm sure we could easily move to a optional enter your email if you want more info.
Okay. I mean, all this sort of indicates we can work on a couple paths here, right? To collect data, and also to do a few things: collect data, but also provide a little bit of extra insurance when you have people on the ice. Do some of that marketing back to them, and also go to sponsors with some hard numbers that we can actually prove. So I will say, when we're talking to sponsors, which is always, or potential sponsors, the big challenge for us is just pure volume of the sport, right? So if we say we have 20,000 members, pickleball or somebody else says they have 8 gazillion. So we battle that a bit. So anything we can do to push that number up. Now, our number is never going to be the same as pickleball. So when we talk to sponsors, we talk to them about a lot of things that go beyond numbers, in terms of, the support, the way curlers support the brands that support the sport, the nature of the club nature of the sport, et cetera. So there are other things we can do. And obviously Olympic viewership of the sport is a big one. Even if it's a company that can't advertise during the Olympics or not able to do that, they can they still see value just being associated with it. Hey, Jeff, I'm just reading your note in the chat. When you have a future player pipeline committee, which is a good name for a committee and a good reason to have a committee, do they follow up with those people?
Yeah, for learn to curls and like corporate or private outings, we'll typically follow up with our process to join the instructional league as the next step. And we're kind of socializing that through the instructors and, you know, the broom stacking and all those kinds of things. So, and I think like others have said, like we've been using a paper waiver for a long time, but our chair this last year was piloting a process for folks to sign in via a standalone iPad that would allow us to capture kind of whatever data we want. If people are signing up individually, they're providing their email address at the time they sign up. But like others have said, for group outings, we might just have the contact person and not know what other 23 people are walking in the door with them until that time. But if they all sign the waiver, then we have that information. I mean, I heard you say like not wanting to make more work for the clubs. I think a lot of clubs are probably already doing this. So maybe a good option is to provide a way for clubs to report those numbers to you all on some sort of monthly or recurring basis. If what you are after is the numbers, I think that's more easily provided. And I think somebody just shared like, hey, you can provide your email address if you want to opt in to additional information, either from Columbus Curling Club or USA Curling. Like we have those numbers. I don't know that we know how to best share them with you all so that when you're going out to talk to sponsors, we've got some real hard data to provide them. But I think if I told my club that the accuracy of what we report comes back to us in the form of potential sponsorship or other benefit through USA Curling, I think they're likely to want to help share that information.
Yeah, those are good points, Jeff. Appreciate it. So this is great feedback for us as we try to see how we can make something like this work, or just have the data, and again also provide a little layer of protection that for participants. But the point that is a fair one, that we haven't done a good job of saying, hey, here's an easy way for you to share what your data with us. Certainly something we can do. Well, I'm going to put the one-day curler membership on the agenda every time, and even if once we launch it. I joke about with the town hall sometimes that we need to have more controversial items on the agenda to boost attendance. So, just making a note here. Any other questions about this topic or anything else? Thanks, Jonathan. Thanks, Todd, in the chat. I think, yeah, obviously, I mean, if we give somebody buys a $5 membership and they get $10 off a purchase of $25 or more in our online store, we're doing fine. So there is also just this element of trying to brand this thing of being I was a one-day curler, you know. We know there's a lot of people like to check it off their bucket list, and this might just add to that element. Jim from Ardsley.
Hi again. I just had a thought, because we've been sort of noticing something, at least in the Northeast. You may have noticed this, but in the world of 5U qualifiers, right? And I know that we spoke about this earlier, but there seems to be this sort of unintended consequence, and that is that long-standing spiels don't get as much signups because the limited budget and time that people have to spend, right? Especially new curlers. And so the long-running sort of traditions of events is sort of seeing a decline of new teams entering events. And so I was wondering if there's perhaps a sort of method of enabling 5U teams to go to events that are long-standing and have essentially a long-standing tradition and pedigree, that they would potentially be considered for nationals, or they could qualify for a qualifier or something if they placed in a certain, in the top 3 or whatever, if they won an event at a spiel, this sort of thing, that instead of making strictly 5U events being 5U events be qualifiers, perhaps we could open it up such that 5U teams would be more incentivized to go to other events and also still have a path to qualification. Just a thought.
Yeah, I see what you mean. So you're saying that, say, your traditional men's or women's spiel isn't getting as much interest because your 5U curlers are playing only 5U bond spiels?
That's essentially it, yeah.
Yeah.
And it isn't just, I went to 5U Nationals back in the day, and the drive that people have to go to nationals is extraordinary. Right. And it's really unique. It's amazing. But all their time off and budget for travel is really strictly to go to these qualifiers across the country. And so you end up losing the pipeline, as someone used, it's a good word, the pipeline into other events. So it's just a thought, and it might make it easier for teams that can't travel to also have a chance. I don't know, just thoughts,
No, it's I mean, the good thing about 5U is eventually people can't play in it now. We might just want to do a better job of making sure those people, when they can't play in it, start to play in other events. Jonathan's got a comment about, I'm reluctant to do anything similar to the college point system, Jonathan, because I still don't fully understand it, and I like clear systems. So, but I get your point, Jim. It's, because I know that a lot of these teams will play 7, 8 qualifier bond spiels to try to get to the event. Now, as you say, there's good and bad, but I guess the other thing is, would they be playing otherwise in those spiels? Maybe, or maybe we just have to somehow otherwise incentivize them. I don't. It will get tricky, I think, if we start just awarding berths to some spiels for 5U. I don't know. I recognize the issue. I'm not sure I'm on the same page with the solution yet, but definitely recognize the issue, and it's a fair one. Jeremy.
Yeah, I have a comment. I guess it's sort of related. You mentioned there was like 500 or something entries to the 5Us. Like you're saying, a lot of those were duplicate. People chasing chasing their qualification spot. So I really wonder if there is more excitement about 5 and under curling now than there was before, or if it's just like more concentrated into a more competitive group that now has something to chase, and now they're the competitive teams are going to these things and they're not going to other spiels. What other, and I don't know if that's good or bad. One thing I did over here. This was the first time I went to 5U Nationals. I don't qualify for 5U Nationals, just for everybody on the call. I was coaching a team, so I hadn't been around it too much until this year. And like one thing that I heard from a few people was they were getting burned out because they're chasing these qualification spots, and again, that maybe that's good and that's bad, but I heard some people say like I may step back from curling altogether after this, and that's probably definitely bad.
But
So
we're not
I don't-
forcing them to play in events. I mean,
No,
they don't have to go in 7 or 8.
No, of course, but
Yeah.
it's just something that I think everyone should just watch out for as
Yeah.
like we go through. Like now we've had basically one Olympic cycle with this national event, and you know, maybe, you know, people had their 5 and under experience. They went to nationals. Maybe they got what they wanted out of curling, and now they're not going to curling. And if that, you know, we'll see what happens in the next cycle. But and if, you know, if we start to lose curlers, I think we should just like maybe reevaluate this whole thing.
Sure. I mean, I think we reevaluate, you know, we're wise to reevaluate everything all the time. So, and that's a fair point. And, you know, one thing I know people have said to me is like, oh, what about a 10U? Well, we don't really want to do that. And then, you know, what we'd really like to do is in terms of national championships, you know, have these people playing in club nationals. But I guess the other thing would just be sort of promoting a bit of a cultural thing that, you know, there's more to curling than just 5U nationals. And if you're, you know, that you should be playing in other bonspiels as well. I'm not exactly sure how to do that. But you are right. I mean, we could also, you know, limit the number of qualifier bonspiels a team can play in, but then that doesn't benefit the people who are organizing those bonspiels who want to fill them. So it's interesting. I mean, I think you make all these points are valid, and I'm just not going to say I have or we have all the solutions yet, but or if there is a good solution.
I mean, it's not clear that they need a solution
Right.
at this point either.
Yeah.
I think it's just something to watch out for.
Yeah. I think Jonathan's right. If, you know, once a rec curler or a leisure curler travels to a well-run out-of-state bonspiel, it often helps. I think some of it just happens when, you know, people within a club, you know, if you're a 5U curler, for instance, at my club, and I said, hey, you want to go on a bonspiel, they'd probably be pretty excited to go if I had time to play in one. But you know, I think that's probably the kind of thing we could promote as well. Yeah, Jeff, that over-under format is definitely a good one. And, you know, one of the things I've always thought about curling, if we could have some sort of handicap system would be great, but no one's been able to figure out how. Ask the Madison Curling Club, they sort of have it, but it's full of controversy. I don't know if anybody's on from Madison, but yeah, Ashley, your question about any thoughts to break up 5 and under nationals into men's and women's, would love to do that. We just literally out of the 30 qualifier bonspiel applications, 2 are women's only events. So we'll, you know, it's until we can build that out. And then the other feedback we've had is that women will say, well, I have to play on a mixed team or a men's team. So the other option would be to look at a men's and a mixed divisions, you know, so that might be something we can look at after this next season, because I do agree with you. It's not, and I said it when I was in St. Paul, you know, it's not a great look when, you know, the quarterfinals are underway and there was one woman on the ice. So it is open, you know, and Lauren and I were on a call with the arena group and someone was saying, well, an open format is more inclusive. Well, it is and it isn't. I mean, that's why we have men's and women's and arena nationals, right? It's actually become sort of less inclusive. Nick's saying make the 5 and unders regionally based like the other club events. Go ahead, Ashley.
I think maybe the way that you were referencing to kind of look at the breakup of men versus women needs to go about in the opposite direction. I think that right now everyone assumes that you can only apply as a qualifier as like if you're doing an open bonspiel, or that's the best chance of getting your club selected as a qualifier if it's an open bonspiel. But I think USA Curling kind of needs to put that effort first to try to break up the qualification process.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, last year, all the women's bonspiels that applied to be qualifiers we picked, right? So I think if we have to circulate that more, we certainly can. Because even if we had 6 women's only 5U bonspiels, then we could have an open format and a women's side. We'd go like 18 and 6 at nationals. But it's tough to do with 2, and I think last year we had 3, and I know 1 struggled to fill. So yeah, I mean, I think the short step is to a 6-team women's event. Yeah, Albany, you're right. I think Albany ended up being less than 12 teams. Childs was 20 maybe. Yeah. So those 2 last year. So the Childs will be 1 this year. And then there's 1 other women's spiel that applied. Racine, yeah. Thanks, Abby. That was a USWCA women's only event. Vanessa makes the point that I've heard from others, where you don't have a big membership population to draw from. There aren't always enough women who are willing or able to travel to make a full team in smaller clubs. So, and on the regional playdown structure, I mean, then we're throwing another thing back on the regions to do. So, and honestly, you're absolutely right, Lauren. I mean, it's childcare is a big deal for lots of women, and men just don't carry that burden. I mean, that's the same reason we have a bigger pool of elite teams on the men's side than we do on the women's side, unfortunately. All right, well, we're past the hour, but it's a good conversation, and we'll keep working on both things. And there's lots of good feedback here from all of you, so appreciate it. Yeah, Abby's point is that if we had mixed and open, so you could play in mixed. And then, yeah, I mean, it's, obviously our sport it's not as big an advantage for men over women, but obviously if we just look at the results of that 5U Nationals in the last few years, it's, men's teams that are winning it are in the playoffs generally. Not that, Abby, you had a couple tough losses, otherwise you're right in there, so. Fair point, Matt. How many other sports are recruiting large numbers of grown adults? I'm glad you brought that up, Matt. Our biggest growth area, really, when we look at membership, is 25 to 40-year-olds. And I know that's not a true demographic. I think you go 21 to 40. But I'm convinced that we get a lot of people, and there's probably some on this call who come out of college and are looking for a sport to play that they can enjoy and compete at. I think that's one reason 5U Nationals, there's more interest since it became a little more competitive and structured. People want to compete. Yeah, Lauren notes we did try to provide childcare, but there wasn't enough interest in it. I think the reality is when you do go to a national championship, you're probably thinking it's a chance to get away. So for anybody, either gender. So, but you have to have a support system to be able to do that. Sorry, I'm just trying to catch up in the chat here. Summer spiel into a pride spiel, great. And somebody suggests reaching out to Monica Walker at Broomstones. Also, the glitter spiel at Potomac was one of the is a big one of the first ones. So Potomac would be another club to talk to. All right. Well, I always say I try to keep all our meetings to an hour, Arena Club, and otherwise. So, because otherwise, I'm convinced we lose good people if they go too long. So I'm going to sign off. But feel free to follow up to Lauren or I with any thoughts post meeting here. But really do appreciate all the input and feedback, even whether it's good or bad, whether it's about some spiels struggling to fill or people quitting curling after they age out of 5 and under. But we'll try to resolve these things. All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you.